Hello students, this is Rashmi Singh ma'am once again here, and today I am going to teach you an elementary school classroom in a slum written by Stephen Spender. And before I start, I would like to address you that roadside stand has been deleted from your syllabus and you must be very happy. And secondly, an English poem or an English lesson should be taught in English because you have to write and represent your answers in English. You don't have to write in Hindi in board exams. Secondly, you have to develop your personality also, spoken English also. So if you're not able to comprehend, if you're not able to understand, then you can replay this video. You can watch this video repeatedly again and again and get a grasp of it. So and learn your poems, because if you learn your poems, what happened, you know which line comes after what line, and you're able to do your RTC very nicely. So let us start this poem, which has been written in verses of 8 lines each. So first 8 line I am going to start. Far, far from gusty waves. It starts with one figure of speech, that is repetition. Far, far. 2 words are repeated. If 2 or 3 words are repeated in a sequence to bring out the strength of the imagery which the poet is putting, then it is called repetition. And poet here is Stephen Spender, who will be bringing out the pathetic condition of the underprivileged children here very beautifully, and which will choke you with emotions. Far, far from gusty waves. Gusty, very strong waves, breezes. Far, far from the strength of these waves, these children's faces. Now, who are these children? These children are the children of the slum, those who are unfortunate, those who are not so lucky as you and I, and they dwell in poverty. So these children's faces are compared compared but are contrasted to gusty waves. So another figure of speech is, or literary devices, contrast. Now the third literary device comes here. These children's faces like rootless weeds. Just like weeds grow in abundance here and there, and they don't have roots. They can grow anywhere, and they are unwanted grass. So these children are also considered as unwanted children of the society. That is why they are rootless weeds, because they do not have any permanent homes. Just like these grasses, they don't have any roots. These grasses don't have any roots, and these children don't have any permanent home. So figure of speech here is simile. They are directly compared to rootless weeds, and simile is when we have a direct comparison between two things by using like or as. So let's go ahead. The hair torn around their pallor. Pallor is their face, hair all disheveled, in all disheveled condition, all not in a good condition. Dishevelled, disheveled, unkempt, 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 not kept properly, not unkept, unkempt. We add an M here, and this word is usually and generally used with hair. So these children's hair is mixed with dirt and all kind of soil, etc., etc., and they don't have oil, they don't have comb to comb their hair, and they are unfortunate, they are underprivileged, they're trapped in the vicious circle of life. Their life is pathetic. Another example of poverty the poet gives in the next line. The tall girl with her weighed down head. The tall girl, again, she is a symbol of malnutrition. The tall, because the girl of the slum, she grows very tall and very thin because she has not been fed properly, and she has got a big head because she is facing deficiency of vitamins. She hasn't got good food, hence she has grown with a big head, and her head is bent down. At some places it would be written that her head is bent down with shame, but actually it is not bent down with shame. It is bent down with her physical condition, as her body is not able to hold her head, which has grown so big because of malnutrition. Now next line is the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes. The paper seeming boy, the paper seeming boy. This another figure of speech is what? Now metaphor. The tall girl with her weighed down head was also metaphor. And now this is the paper seeming boy. Paper seeming boy is metaphor because the boy is indirectly compared to paper. Like and as is not used. So this is metaphor. This is not simile. So you have already got repetition, you have got contrast, you have got simile, and now metaphor. 4 literary devices in around 3 to 4 lines Stephen Spender has used. And then he is with rat's eye, another metaphor, with rat's eyes. So how rat's eyes? Because the eyes of that boy, who's so thin in the slum area, in the slum school, is always looking for food, just like rats. They are always in search of food. Similarly, the boy here is also looking for food all the time, and they live in holes just like rats because their places of existence is very small, very cramped. Later on this poet uses cramped holes. Their places of existence are cramped holes, just like again a comparison with rats. So this is metaphor. The stunted unlucky hair of twisted bones. So the poet says the stunted unlucky hair of twisted bones. How stunted? Stunted when the growth stops. So stunted unlucky hair. Stunted dwarf. D-W-A-R-F-E-D. Dwarf. When your growth doesn't take up as a normal human being. Why doesn't it take up as a normal human being? Because they are not provided good food. They are not provided food enriched with vitamins. The stunted unlucky hair of twisted bone. Unlucky hair. Here H-E-I-R. Who all are here? Now this hair is not this hair which the poet had used earlier. This here is descendants. Descendants means who. In Hindi, however, it is varis, but it is descendants means one in your lineage. Your grandfather, your father, your father. So they are your descendants. So the poet says here, the stunted unlucky hair of twisted bones. Those stunted unlucky hair of twisted bones. So what they have got in, by their fathers, and what have they inherited? What have they got in their inheritance? They have only got twisted bones reciting a father's gnarled disease. So they have got twisted bones, twisted and stunted growth. And what have they inherited? Rich people, they inherit lands, they inherit cars, they inherit building, they inherit palaces. And they are inheriting what? They are inheriting the gnarled, G-N-A-R-L-E-D. Gnarled means dangerous diseases of their fathers and great-grandfathers, because they were also very poor and they were diseased, and they are getting these diseases by them. So they are in inheritance, they are getting all these things. Gnarled diseases of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled diseases. Reciting is a copy. Reciting is a copy of father's gnarled diseases. So they are exact replica, R-E-P-L-I-C-A. They are exact replica of their father, and the same diseases they are having, what their father was having, what their great grandfathers were having. His lesson from his desk at back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. His eyes live in a dream of squirrels game in the tree room other than this. So he says, in the elementary classroom, which is in a very pathetic condition, one boy is sitting at the back who is unnoticed. Nobody notices him, and he is unnoticed, and he is looking outside the classroom, and he is looking at a squirrel who is playing in the tree room, a small hole which is made in the trunk of the tree. The squirrel is entering that tree and playing, and this boy is not concentrated in his class. He's not paying attention to what his teacher is saying because it is so dim, it is illit, no proper light is there. So he's not interested in what is happening in his class, but he's looking outside to the squirrel which is playing in the tree room, because he wants to be free as the squirrel. He wants to have a future which is great like the squirrel, and which is free. He wants to have a good future in the tree room. Other than this, he's not interested in this. Other than this slum classroom. So now first 8 lines have been done, students. I hope you might have understood about this, the pathetic condition which Stephen Spender is trying to bring out. Now we will start with the next 8 lines. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, bellflowery Troilus valley, open-handed map, awarding the world its world. So let us do till here. On sour cream walls, sour, you know that it means the taste like lemon, or but here it is not exactly lemon, the taste which is not good and to your taste buds. So sour cream walls, cream, really cream? Is the real cream color? No, because the walls of the classroom had gone dirty. They were very dirty, and they were in a very pathetic state. And sour because it was not very appealing to senses. Not that you would go and taste, put your tongue out and you will taste the wall. Sorry, it's not that. It's just that it is not appealing to the senses, and it is looking not good. So on the sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head. What is Shakespeare's head here? Shakespeare's head is the portrait of Shakespeare. It's somebody, people, visitors, they come and they gift, and this Shakespeare's portrait is hung. Later on in the next paragraph, verse, we will come to know what is the meaning of this. And then there are charts and other things being hung. The next is the cloudless at dawn, a very beautiful picture of which the chart had also gone dirty, but the picture was beautiful, of Tyrolese Valley, where these children, this slum classroom is Tyrol Valley in Austria, which is ice-free zone. So Tyrolese Valley, where all the city, now again a contrast, because the city of the Tyrolese Valley had dome-like structures, beautiful structures, and riding these dome-like structures, riding the city means the entire building of the Tyrolese Valley had this dome-like structures, cloudless at dawn. And this picture was of dawn, D-A-W-N, break of the early morning, cloudless, where there was no cloud. The third picture is of an open-handed map. Now, what is open-handed map? It often comes in your CBSE question. What do you understand by open-handed map? Now, open-handed map are those maps which are drawn free-handedly, by free hand. And why? Because those days it was like rulers were winning and losing lands and territories, and every now and then, every month they were waging wars and lands, acquiring lands, and sometimes their lands were like going out of their control. Sometimes their land was in their control. So every time the map was changing. So it was a free-handed drawn map, and very carelessly it was drawn, awarding the world its world. Awarding the world its world means giving them these children their world. So were these children bothered about the world of the rulers? They were not bothered about the world of the rulers, because they were hungry. Like a rat, as told earlier, they did not have any permanent place of dwelling. So why would they be bothered about the victories and the conquests of these rulers, those who were giving them this world? Because their world was different from the world of the rulers. So the free-handed map were drawn according to the whims and fancies of these rulers. Whims and fancies, as they always wanted, let us do something because we don't have anything to do, so let us wage war. That was their kind of entertainment. And who were the sufferers? These children of the slum schools were the sufferers. Open-handed map, as I explained to you, awarding the world its world. And yet for these children, these windows, for these children, these map were not actually for them. What were for them? For these children, these windows, not this world, their world. Not this world, their world. For these children, looking outside the window was their world. They wanted to be free, they wanted to have a good future, and not this world. The world of the rulers were their world. Their world was different. Their world wanted 2 meals a day. Their world was filled with poverty. They wanted their world, they were trapped in a vicious circle of being underprivileged. They want and vicious circle of being in the vicious circle of malnutrition. They wanted to get out of it. Were all their futures painted with fog? You know, fog. In winters, we have fog and we cannot see through fog, and we cannot go through fog. So where all the future, so they do not have good future, and their future is painted with fog. Their future is dark, their future is gloomy, their future has got no future at all. And then their future is here too, again figure of speech is the futures painted with fog. Future painted with fog. This is the imagery, how their future is painted with fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky. Again their future is compared to a narrow street. See, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky. See, what is a lead sky? Lead sky is a dark lead, pencil lead. Lead is dark. So their future is like a very narrow street. Somehow you are able to walk in it. Somehow you are able to adjust in it. But as you go ahead, somehow you cover the distance. What happens? It is sealed forever. It is packed with a lead sky. You cannot go beyond that. So their future is always doomed. No future for them because they don't have money. There's nobody to help them. Their condition is very pathetic. They have only inherited diseases and nothing else from their fathers and from their forefathers. Far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. Stars of words, please underline children, stars of word, knowledge. So their future is away from all the beauties of nature. They cannot enjoy the beauties of nature because day and night they think how they will going to fill in their stomach, how they are going to march ahead in their lives. And stars of the words, that is knowledge, is far away from their life. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example. Now we are coming to the third verse of 8 lines, octave. Surely Shakespeare is wicked. Now how Shakespeare is wicked? What did Shakespeare do to him? Shakespeare is wicked because portrait of Shakespeare is hung in their classroom, and this portrait does not hold any importance to them, because their first priority is to fill their stomach. They are hungry. They want 2 meals a day, and they are just putting the portrait of Shakespeare and other things and asking them to read about Shakespeare, what they are going to do when they are hungry, when they do not know, and when they have lots of diseases, suffering with lots of diseases. So Shakespeare does not hold any meaning to them. The mad a bad example. What are they going to do with man? What are they going to know who's the ruler and who's not the ruler, and how much territory has he won, how much territory has he lost, and all the beautiful pictures which are hung on the wall? What are they going to do with that? Because they are hungry. They don't have food. They are trapped in the vicious circle of poverty. They're trapped in the vicious circle of being in a circle of malnutrition. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped hole, their lives slyly, very cunningly, 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 in a cheating way, life cheated on them. Life is not good for them. Life cheated on them. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes. As I told you, when I was teaching you about rats and that comparison, rats' eyes looking for food all the time. So here, cramped holes, because their places of dwelling, existence of these children of the slum school, of the slum area, the underprivileged children. Now most of you make this spelling mistake. Most of you add D in privilege. We don't add D. It is privileged, not D. Don't add D there. So in their cramped holes, their places of existence, very small room of mud, etc., somehow, and they somehow enter those holes and come out. So somehow they are existing on this earth. From fog to endless night, and the question mark is there. Fog to endless night. Now why question mark? Why the poet has given a question mark? The poet is saying their life from one end to other, from their birth to death, is a fog through which you cannot see, means future is doomed, to endless night, the night which is not going to end forever. The night means they are not blessed with all the beauties of life, just like you, just like we at least are happy that we have food to eat, we can study, you are watching this video, we can study. But these children, they are not even properly educated, and they don't even want, because their first priority is to fill their stomach. Let us go ahead. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes, from fog to endless night. And as I asked you, question mark. So the poet is asking us, privileged ones, that whether their lives are going to remain like this only, or whether we are going to do something for them. Are we going to help them? On their slag heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones, and spectacles of steel with mended glass, like bottle bits of stones. Now let me explain this. This is very tough and very hard. On their slag heaps. Now slag is a factory waste. So first meaning of this is here heaps, bundles and bundles of it. So slag heaps are what? These are the factory waste or the dirt on which their slum was situated. Second meaning is that slag heap here is their diseased body, because they have to carry their diseased body. Their body is diseased without any medication, without any good food. They are trapped in a vicious circle of malnutrition, as just I have told. On their slag heap, these children where skins peep through by bones. So these children where skins peep through by bones, they are so thin that it seems that they don't have any flesh in their body, and they have only bones in their body, and their bones are covered by skins, and it looks like they are so weak and thin, diseased body they have, that they are wearing these skins. All right, I hope so. If you have any problem, you can always mail me. Where skins peep through by bones, and spectacles of steel with mended glass. They have bad eyesight also, and when they wear these spectacles which are not of good quality, they are of iron and steel, and when their glasses break also, they can't do anything, that they don't have money, so much money. First, to get a glass itself is a Herculean task, and then after that you have to get, if you break the glass, you have to get it mended and you have to get it changed. It is not done, so they can't, because they don't have the money. They can't do. So what do? They just pick up those glasses, they just mend it. They pick up those broken glasses and they mend it, and then they wear, and then they see or read anything, and it looks like somebody has stuck small pieces of stones on, or bottles on stones, bottle bits on stones. Their glasses seem like, again, they're a figure of speech, metaphor, bottle bits on stones. Their glasses are compared because their glasses are not of good quality. All of their time and space are foggy slums. See, fog, continuously it has been used to bring out the pathetic situation of these children and their future. All of their time and space are foggy slum. Why their slum is considered as foggy? Because there's no future. No future for them. They are born, they will die one day, like their fathers have died. They have inherited the gnarled diseases of their fathers, the dangerous diseases of their fathers. They are reciting the dangerous diseases of their fathers, and they will go to God the way their fathers have gone. So blot their maps with slums as big as doom. So blot their maps with slums as big as doom. And in this freehand map, their slum is shown as a black patch. Their map, their place of existence is shown as a black patch, and that is like a doom. Again, doom, D-O-O-M, doom means death, forever, an end. So they don't have any future. This is what Spender is trying to bring out again and again. And when we will come in the last verse, we will see how and what Spender advocates. So now we come to the last paragraph. Unless governor, inspector, visitor. This is the last verse. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives and catacombs. So he says that unless governor, inspector and visitors come, what the teachers they do then, because they're always looking outside, so they just close this window. They just close this window sometimes, and this slum classroom becomes a catacomb for them. What is a catacomb? Catacomb is an underground burial. This is given in your book. The meaning is given in your book. But once again, I am telling you, it is an underground burial. So it seems that this classroom, again the comparison is like catacomb. So comparison, if like is used, it is a simile. S-I-M-I-L-E. It is simile. The slum classroom is directly compared to catacomb as underground burial. So if these governors, visitors and people, good people, when they, not good, literate people, people of importance, when they visit their schools, then only their schools are clean sometimes. Teachers are teaching also properly. Otherwise, no one pays in attention to them. So the poet asked that we should take attention of these small sweet children, those who are dwelling in poverty. So see what the poet says here then. Break, oh break, figure of speech is invocation. Literary devices, this poem is filled with figure of speeches and literary devices. Break, oh break, invokes. The poet says, break, oh break open till they break the town and show the children green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands and let their tongues run naked into books and white and green leaves open. History theirs whose language is the sun. The poet now invokes these children also, and he says now, break, oh break. He says, break the shackle, shackle. I'm giving you this word. Shackle means chains of slavery, chains of poverty. Break this. Come out of it. You can do it. The poet is invoking these children, and at the same time he is invoking the privileged us. He's saying one of us can go and help them. What are we doing? We're just sitting back at our homes and doing nothing. So he's at the same time he's telling the children also, break this chain of slavery, break this shackles of poverty, try and come out of it. Break, oh break open till they break the town and show the children green fields. And then he asks us like privileged us, that show the children green fields and make their world run azure on gold sand. So he says that give all the opportunities to these children. If opportunities are given, they will prove. They are no less than the children of privileged houses. They are no less. But only that opportunities are not given. So I request, get up. He requests the children also, and he requests the privileged people also that get up and break the shackles. Come out of your houses. Give them the chance. Take them to run azure means gold, means give them the opportunity. Run azure on gold sand means run azure, give them bright opportunity, and let their tongues run naked into books. Let their tongues mean what? They will jut out their tongues and taste the books. Sorry, no means give them opportunity of education. Come out. You are privileged. You can do this. You can give the opportunity of education. Run naked into books. White and green leaves open. White and green leaves, leaves of knowledge. So the poet says that if you give them opportunity, give them then knowledge will be not far away from them. They'll become knowledgeable. And history is there whose language is the sun. History is there whose language is the sun. So please write it down. The poet is here because you will not get in any book. History is there. Poet says, history has vouched, VOUCHED. History has given examples that if good opportunity has been provided, these children can create history. Just like Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, and from Indian scenario and context, Chandragupta Maurya. So we have people, those who have made history despite of the pathetic condition in which they were born, despite of all the problems in which they were born and they had to face. So history has proved, so many times history has proved, and if you go around, you will find there are so many people, those who have made history by their willpower, by their grit, by their determination. So if any child who is lagging in any thing and he is watching my video, who's lucky to watch, please don't sit back at home thinking that you cannot do anything. Come out and go ahead in your life. Surge ahead. SURGE. You can make history. This is what Spender is trying to say. So we have come to the end of the poem. We have completed this poem, and I would like to tell you, before your exams, I will give you all the figure of speeches as notes, and I will be giving you the notes also as newsletters. So keep watching my videos and keep yourself aware about what is happening in this world and what is not happening, because all the information is extremely important. Thank you.